This is Susan for SLC Aquatics, welcoming you to the live stream tonight with my very special guest, Cory from Aquarium Co-op. Let's
Hello.
give a big old praise. Hey, hand clap. I guess we're okay. Yeah, I made it.
Doing just fine.
Are we live? I guess I'll go to the watch page.
Sure.
That could have been where the echo was. So we are going to welcome the first comer tonight, Chicken Joe, first in the chat, and all of our regulars that are with us. And if I have any new ones with me tonight, I want you to check out everyone's channel, especially Aquarium Co-op, and subscribe and follow his views and his videos and his projects that he has going. And I'm going to just turn it on over to Cory at this time. Have you seen any questions?
Not yet. I haven't seen any questions yet, but
Yeah.
we are doing a big contest. If you guys want to enter over on the website, aquariumcoop.com, giving $1,000 away in gift cards. So 20, $50 gift cards. And there's like a whole laundry list of things you can do to gain entries. Some of them might be like subscribing to Aquarium Co-op YouTube page, get you some. Some might be buying from the website. Another one is just coming back each day. You can get some points through Instagram and Twitter, and there's some secret code things, like if you're one of the patrons to my channel or the Corvus Oskin channel, there's some secret codes set up. You get those codes, you put them in, you get some extra points there. So you just kind of take it one at a time. I know it's like, oh my God, there seems like there's so many ways to enter. But it's kind of just fun, different little things you can do. And some people get a little antsy when they're like, I can't do this one. Don't look at it that way. Look at it more like, oh, I'm going to do these because they're super easy and I want to do these, not that, oh, I can't get this or that type of thing. So.
Okay, Cory, thanks so much. We've got 29 watching right now, according to my latest update. We want to let everybody know about that contest and make sure that you participate. And also, we have the Real Fish Talk that goes on. Is it once a week or twice a week that you all do that?
So we do it twice a week, but up until this week, we were doing we were doing one every week, and then we were releasing one on the podcast. So we would do two every week, but not both were on YouTube. And we made a decision that we want to focus on being kind of a video podcast. And so we're going to make sure we release both every week, and then also put it out on the podcast form, people that want to just listen to it instead of watch it. And it's been an evolution. We've been doing it for a couple of months now, and we're on like episode 20 will be tomorrow. And each day we meet and stuff like that. We figure out like, okay, what do we want to do next? Where do we want to take this? What do we want to do? And I think we're at the point now with building the new studio and all that we realized we just need to dedicate a couple of days a week and just do it, even though it's brutal driving schedule for Joel, and it's going to be a couple hours, and it kind of breaks up our whole week. It's the only way to really make it work, we think, as we were filming both of them in the same day, doing 2 1-hour episodes back to back in one day. And we think it's just going to be a better thing to be able to space it out, bring them both live. And I think it's the dedication of 2 days, knowing that this is kind of a weird week. This is Christmas, so he has to be out. We would have done it normally earlier today, but he had a family dinner he had to go to. And so with Christmas and stuff like that, the schedule's a little weird. We'll miss next Tuesday because that's the day after Christmas, and he's still out of town, family, and I've got a bunch of crazy stuff I got to do. But from then on, it should be like every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 10 a.m. That's at least the current time. We've been asking people, what's a better time for you, that type of thing. And we haven't got a lot of feedback on when people want it to be live yet. But the goal is to find a good time and just repeat that every Tuesday and Thursday, get the podcast out on the podcast so that people can download it later in the day or the next day while they're at work if they don't want to watch it live. And, the goal we have, and I've already been reaching out, to let's say reps and people higher up in the industry, people that own, let's say, wholesale facilities and all these other aspects of the hobby that as us as a hobbyist don't know about to try and get them in. So like, let's say you own a wholesale facility. I want to bring them into the show. And when I say bring them in, I mean physically fly them to the studio here and then let people ask them like, so why won't you sell to me at my house and you only sell to stores? And then they can give you what they go into and why it doesn't make sense maybe for them to ship it straight to you as opposed to shipping it to a store. Or let's say we bring in someone who's a transshipper who works with, oh, well, one of the reasons is you might not know the language you need to speak to be able to bring them into this country. And so talking with them, and we can just kind of crowdsource all these answers that are kind of out there on the internet, but maybe not. And so that's one of the big goals I want to do is bring stuff that we're not already getting to YouTube, that content. I want to get people like maybe Gary Lang so we can ask him about rainbows and then get people that like catfish and just all these different things and get the experts that normally would only go to a club level and get them on the show. And so that people that don't have clubs have a chance to interact with these people. They hopefully, if we've done our job right, instead of going to a club and speaking to 50 to 100 people, instead thousands and thousands of people will get the benefit of the information there instead of just a few people. That being said, it is kind of their livelihood, so it gets weird. I don't know that many of them are going to want to do their presentations like they would at a convention, but I do know that they're all doing it to help spread information in the hobby, and so they'll definitely field questions and do all that kind of fun stuff. So that's what we're trying to do. Now, that kind of takes a huge budget. Like, let's say we just want to fly in someone from the East Coast, that's probably about $600. And then there's a hotel fee. We got to probably put them up for at least a couple of nights. And then we probably have to chaperone them around town because no one just wants to fly in, speak on YouTube, and then fly back out. That you got to give something for them to enjoy as well. And so we're probably looking at each time we bring someone in, if they're from the opposite coast, or if we're lucky and we do well enough to bring people in from other countries, you know, somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 per guest. And so at the beginning, it will be like a local fish club and probably bring in like once a month, see what we can do. And are we selling enough stuff with Aquarium Co-op and our patrons pitching in and is AdSense making sense? And do we have the format right and all those things to do that? Because at a certain point, let's say a year down the road, if it's not working and we've lost $12,000, you look at that the next year going, oh, is this something we should be doing? Are people responding well or aren't they? And because it's obviously cheaper, or not cheaper, it is more beneficial for me to fly to them, right? So I could fly to them and I could just record their setup and I could ask them questions and then I might be able to hit 3 other people in the same state or something. But that doesn't bring the guest to YouTube and put them live and that type of thing. And so we're trying to do something that we really haven't ever seen done before. It's been done a little bit at like the Aquatic Experience or some, you know, kind of little live streams. But, you know, whoever your fish idol is, imagine that you could ask them direct questions and that they were just fielding questions and talking about the subject they're passionate about for 2 hours. And then the audio was really good and the video was really good and it wasn't all grainy and there wasn't a bunch of background noise and there wasn't interruptions because it's at a show or an event, something like that. So it's kind of like a talk show, I guess, is what we're trying to do with a budget of 1/100th of that and seeing where we can take it and where it'll go. It's going to be hard at the beginning. We'll learn and hopefully it'll just go from there.
Well, that sounds like a really good idea. I myself would love to hear some of the experts of different fish like the Cory cats and the rainbows and different things like that in your set, and also educating the fish hobbyists on the wholesaler and the transshippers would be an excellent subject if possible. And of course we need the funding, we need the patrons to get on board and do their part, and if everyone, you know, gives their dollar or, you know, goes up to the second tier or third tier with larger amounts, you know, everyone's patron channel is set up different. Cory, that would be maybe a good subject right now to discuss Patreon a little bit and
Sure.
how to actually set up those tiers and, you know, give rewards to your patrons.
So I started a thing that like I wanted to bring money into the community. And so like if I'm just trying to bring money to myself, I can bring on new products to the store. I can ask people to buy more stuff, that type of thing. But I also want it so that, let's say, someone like my co-anchor on the Real Fish Talk, Joel, can make a living, and that Susan here can get some funding, and that Flynn in the mod chat and stuff like that can get funding. And so what I see is, let's say on an average episode on my channel, let's say I average 25,000 views. So that means at least out of 100,000 subscribers, I have 25,000 people that probably watch most videos. Now, there's people that like one type and other people that like a different type and don't like this type. But let's just say for simple math that 25,000 people, different people, are watching the content. If they all were willing to spend $1 to get 4 videos a week, so 16 videos for $1, that's about like 7 cents a video. If they were all willing to do that, we'd have $25,000 a month to produce a show. Now, to give some insight, right now, what YouTube pays a channel like my size is about $5,000. And so when you have a full-time editor, like I have Jimmy, there's a salary there, there's equipment, there's all those types of things. And so we're doing about as much as you can with that $5,000. But if we had an extra $20,000, we would have better equipment, we'd have more speakers, we'd have more people, that type of thing. And so it's not that $25,000 is a huge number, and that's daunting. Like everyone goes, well, I'm not giving $25,000. But the goal is, if people were giving $1, or the way my vision works, I guess, if you will, is that anyone who is really consuming content on YouTube that is fish related, if you were to spend $3 a month and support whoever it is you like, not even myself, it doesn't matter about who you support. Like, it's not just give me money, but instead support 3 people that you really enjoy and give them $1. And even if 100 people do that, that's $300 that are now going into I just realized my light went out, but that'd be $3 going into equipment, right? So it might mean that someone buys a new microphone for $15. The next person is saving up for the new camera because they haven't had a new camera in 6 years, or they drop it, or it got wet, or those types of things. And really, there's a disparity between, and I know because I was there just 2 years ago, a small channel, they might get paid $100 every 3 or 4 months if they're lucky. And that doesn't nearly come close to the amount of time you're putting in and the amount of equipment you need to actually succeed. So I was trying to figure out how can we bridge that gap for a lot of the creators. And that was, even if you're getting $25 a month, you've got 25 people that want to give you $1, that is way more than YouTube's willing to give you currently. So that gets you a lot closer. So if you're going to buy a $300 camera, you can do that after 9 months. Whereas that would take you a year and a half, 18 months to buy it through YouTube, but you still get the YouTube income. So now you can buy that camera after 3 months, but then you also buy the microphone. And so what happens is, with you spending $36 a year, so think of it like Amazona's magazine, it's like 40 or 50 bucks for a year subscription, right? Well, for $36, you're kind of getting a subscription to every YouTube channel out there. Now, you don't have to pay because it's a volunteer basis only. And maybe you donate this month and you don't donate next month because you got laid off or whatever happens, but it's purely a donation basis. And my big goal is that everyone doesn't provide the rewards. Now, I'm not saying you can't interact with them and do things like that, but I'm trying not to turn it into a bidding competition. So for instance, let's say Susan has a Patreon account and people are donating dollars, and I have a Patreon account and people want to donate dollars, but I say, if you donate me all 3 of your dollars, I will give you 20% off the Aquarium Co-op. Well, then all of a sudden I'm stealing dollars away from the other patrons, right? And then it becomes, oh, Jimmy starts a Patreon and he goes, well, if you bring your $3 to me, I will make you private videos every week. And then the next person goes, oh, well, if they're doing that, and they're doing that, I'm going to give away a $100 gift card off of my website every single month. And so it becomes a bidding war, and all those people bidding against each other, it used to be they might have made $16 or $22 or whatever. Now they're losing $30 while they're trying to advertise their patron accounts instead of taking that energy. And the original goal was to take that and put it towards making better content for the viewer. So you see how that shift becomes, where the goal was, let's make a better video that more people enjoy. And instead, if we start adding all these tiers to it, now I'm spending time on how can I outsmart the other creators so that I can get more money. And so if we all kind of adhere to this, you know, we need you guys to spend $1 and it'll help fund us and we'll make better content. That's a good thing. And then the reward is better content. And then hopefully you are doing something on your Patreon, like every once in a while, well, not every once in a while, but every few days or so, I post a picture out of my fish room of something I'm doing that probably is not going to make a video, or I let you guys know about something that's already going on. Or like right now, you can get a few extra entries into the contest. It's a very mild perk, but it's not like on the monthly thing. It's not, you know, the goal isn't to, you know, oh, you better unsubscribe to this person and give me all of your money. In fact, I actively discourage people spending more than $1. So I would much rather, if you were going to give Cory $20, I would much rather you give me $1 and then give 19 other creators $1, because that proportionally will do much more good to this hobby than giving one person $20, in my opinion. Now, it depends on who's spending it, what they're spending it on, that type of thing. But that was the original movement, and it took, I actually, like, I guess, brainchild that over a year ago, but I was afraid to launch it because I wasn't as big back then, and I really wanted people to understand that I'm here to try and help everyone and not just myself. And I was worried that a year ago in December, I had about 30,000 subscribers, and I was worried that it'd be taken the wrong way, like I'm only looking for the money. But I am adamant and try to promote other patrons that are staying active in their Patreon accounts and try to get them some more subscribers. Like I know Flynn, he made his first goal and is able to buy a microphone. It's a $15 microphone, but when you're, let's say, a 15, 16-year-old kid and you're in school and you have other commitments and stuff like that, getting that microphone is actually a huge deal. And so I feel like that was a big win. And yes, could I have just bought this person a microphone? Totally. But I can't buy 1,000 other fish YouTubers a microphone. But if I can change the way we think of entertainment, if you're willing to go spend $12 to watch a movie tonight, instead, that would buy you 4 months of all the YouTube fish people you watch because you're donating $3. So when you look at it like that, it almost seems like, how am I not helping support some of these guys? So that was my movement, my thing, and it's slowly ramping up, very slowly, but change takes time.
Thanks, Cory. One question that I saw in the chat was, can you use PayPal on Patreon? And I don't think you can.
I'm not sure if you can. I think as the patron, so like if with my account, if you were paying me, I think they could pay out to my PayPal account, but I don't think they take payments in through PayPal. And I believe the reason why is because PayPal takes more of the money out coming in. So for instance, if you donate $1, I think PayPal would be 2.75%, whereas Stripe, which is what Patreon uses, is only 2.5%. And so the creator would actually get less money. And so I think that's why they only want to take credit card. You know, and there's probably some deals they've worked out and all that kind of stuff. There was some Patreon Hubub. They were going to change the way they were doing it and all that kind of stuff. And the community kind of spoke out and prevented that. So,
well, I listened to you when you were setting up Patreon. So I tried to set mine up similar to yours. And even I didn't know about setting goals, but for my Patreons, you know, I had set out a poll as to what they wanted to see, and they wanted behind the scenes unedited videos. So they got 4 long videos today because I worked from 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock on maintenance in 3 different projects in my fish room. So if you want to see those videos, you will have to be a patron in order to see them. And you know, a lot of times we edit our videos so well that you don't see the hard work and the elbow grease and the mistakes and the buckets being turned over and all that crazy stuff that can be funny and entertaining. And like you said, instead of putting the whole video out, I might post a photo of, you know, I found some new fry today, so I didn't feel like filming a 15-minute video on just fry.
Yeah. HC Aqua's asking if he's donated $1. Do I need to claim that on your taxes? I'm not sure, depending on what country you live in and stuff like that, but I'm sure there's a taxable donation thing. But usually stuff like that starts at, let's say you had to get at least $250, something like that. That being said, you'd want to ask your accountant. But yes, it all depends on how it's being used and that kind of stuff. I would say ask your accountant, but most people probably don't need to worry about that. You're either going to get a bunch of money and then you need to worry about it, or you're going to get like $11 and it'll be under a threshold. So I would say focus on, you know, providing those extra videos and stuff like that. Because I did watch quite a few creators go like, oh, great, I'm going to start a Patreon. And then I kind of did a self-audit last night. And I was like, wow, a bunch of these people never made a post again. So, you know, if you're going to ask people to donate, you do want to get money to keep doing what you're doing. But there are things you can do extra, like, oh, let me just take a picture of this. You know, like I can tell you right now, 4 minutes before we went live, we found my fish room flooded. And it was because this tank right behind me, I turned off one of the extra sump pumps so it'd be extra quiet in here. And for whatever reason, because we've been doing construction, the way the drain was set up, because we cut lines and stuff like that, it put all the water onto the floor. So currently, Jimmy is vacuuming up all that water. And something like that would make the patron. It wouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to shoot a dedicated video and then release it to YouTube. But you get the insider or the backstory. And then I use it to ask people a lot of questions. And what do you guys think about this? Because usually the people who are willing to donate to you, so if you donate me $1, you're already invested. You want to see me do well. Those are some of the best sounding boards, is people that are already in your corner and they want to see you succeed. They're some of the best people to be asking. So
thank you. Glass Boxes says, question for Susan. When you have problems with your fish, disease, etc., where do you normally go for help? And do you normally get the help you need? Well, I go and watch Cory's videos. And sometimes I just put a search in YouTube. And, you know, I go live twice a week sometimes. So I put it out to my chat, and I get a lot of help with my fish. And then after you go through certain diseases, you become the expert for your own fish room. So I've learned how to see it, catch it, hit it on the head as quickly as I can. And yes, I normally get the help that I need because it's so readily available.
yeah, I'm a guy that still goes to forums and stuff like that. So a lot of times I'll hop on Google, I'll try and describe the disease I have, or if I know the name of it, I might put velvet and then the word forum, and that will bring up posts about velvet that I can read in depth, and I can kind of start sourcing what I think is, okay, there's 3 or 4 different threads and they're all saying that, oh, Cupramine worked, so maybe I should research Cupramine. And then I learn like, oh no, I have velvet and I have shrimp, and the Cupramine is going to kill the shrimp, so that's not going to work. And then so I Google velvet and shrimp, and then that might get me to, oh, I could use a bunch of salt, but then, oh no, I've got plants. The salt is going to kill the plants. And so you can keep going down this rabbit hole when you learn how to search. And you can do the same thing on YouTube. I just actually find, because, you know, for everyone there is in chat, maybe there is 10 people that are making videos, but most of them are probably typed in something on the internet at one point on a forum or something like that. And so there's a lot more people to take their advice from. So I am a guy that typically searches the internet first, and then I, you know, kind of refine where I go, unless I've already seen someone do an expansive video on the problem I have, I will a lot of times put that in my save for later thing, or bookmark it, something like that, going, oh, if I ever run into that problem, this video seems to be very good about that.
Lumpy Dog said somebody cool is coming to my state, Michigan, in May, and I can't wait, talking about live bearers too. Okay. And then Newt Nick says Joel was talking today about his thoughts on helping smaller fish fam channels.
I must have missed that. I was listening to most of it, but then I got in here about 20 minutes early with Susan here to get ready for the stream, so I might have missed that actual part, but I'm pretty sure Joel and I are on the same page when it comes to that. I don't know what sound that was. But what Lumpy Dog's talking about is, it was just basically confirmed that I'm going to speak in Michigan at the ALA convention, and I'll be the banquet speaker, and I'll give another talk. So if you are near Michigan or you love live bears and want to fly out, May 4th, 5th, and 6th, I believe, is when that whole convention will be going on. How many people do we have at the moment?
I have 41 showing on mine.
Alrighty. Poor
Jimmy's working like a slave back there.
He is, yeah. He's, the water's got to get up, and I had to be live, so.
I don't care. I'm fine with it. Dolly Vigil said to me and you, maybe I'm old school and not wrap my mind around it. I love supporting, like buying the merch some of you guys offer. I get the point of Patreon, but he's not sold on the idea yet. And we appreciate your honesty on that.
Yeah, I mean, you can support in a bunch of different ways, but mostly, like, let's say someone like Flynn, or let's say you love a creator and they live in Sweden. It's really hard to actually buy a product from them. And, even for me, let's say you're like, oh man, I love Aquarium Co-op. I'm going to buy a 2XL sweatshirt. I literally will make nothing on that because I'm already selling them at cost, because I want to, get my name out there and that type of stuff. So, a lot of times, like, the $1 is pure profit. It makes a huge change. And, but by all means, buy all my stuff. I love it. I appreciate you guys doing it. My point is to illustrate that most creators out there don't have a good avenue for you to support them by buying. So, and like a lot of the channels now are doing t-shirts, but the t-shirts aren't very lucrative. So while you're going, well, I just spent $27 to get a t-shirt, it puts $3 or $4 into their pocket, So it's like, if you just give them $3 or $4, it's the same as getting a t-shirt, but you didn't have to spend $27. Now, if the shirt's really cool and you want it, hey, that's its own merit. So,
well, Cory, I think that it would be a good idea to keep promoting the Patreon issue with the YouTube creators, because a lot of us are still not knowledgeable of how to set up our Patreon accounts, and we need to be educated so that we can be worthy of that $1 or more support. People like Priscilla MK, she's very gifted. She's already got her art up on another website. So she presents that as her Patreon. Joel does his art and his videos. And, some of us don't have that type of content yet. So it's hard to support someone who doesn't have that content. So we just need to keep educating the Fish Fam YouTube creators so that they can actually be of value.
If they want to. I mean, not everyone has to opt into the program or anything like that, but it's trying just to make a support system that's there if people want to utilize it. No one's required to. And I think as time goes on, we've already been doing that as a society. Most people just don't realize it. Like Netflix was basically the Patreon of cable. People go, cable costs way too much money. And you start paying $7 a month to rent DVDs. And now it's like $12 or $13 a month, but they're doing original content and all that. And it's become its own thing. and that's what YouTube creators are basically doing on a slower path as well. So
Yes, of course, all of this is volunteer. Nobody's required to do anything. Even our community, you know, we get asked all the time, how do I join the Fish Fam community? You just participate. You just you just be there. You show up and you leave comments. You share our videos and such. I wanted to answer a question that Petsotics had asked me how my tank, the 25-gallon that I was restarting. How is it going? Well, today I actually finished setting it up today, Diego, and I put gravel substrate in it. Right now I put silk and plastic plants in it because I am growing out plants in my 55 that I will transfer over. And I don't have any fish in it right now. I did seed it with some filter media from 2 different tanks. So I'm letting it cycle for a couple days before I decide what I'm going to put in it.
So Joel's got a question on whether he thinks books will still play a role in the hobby in 2018, or as the hobby evolved such that the internet is the only up-to-date source. I think for up-to-date information, I think that is a true statement. You know, it's so easy to get what the latest findings are on a collecting trip and that kind of stuff. But I find that books present information in a different way. So for instance, let's say you wanted to learn everything there was to learn about guppies through the internet. I actually find it to be pretty difficult, where if you were to get 2 or 3 books that, you know, are sizable size, like not just like, what is it? TFH did ones that were like 10 pages, you know, they very basic, but you get a couple of those books, you'll know a lot more than more of the internet has ever shared. Now, do you want to know all that knowledge? Do you want to read an entire book on, let's say, guppies and their genetics and that type of thing? You know, that stuff still holds true, but I don't think they're going to play a big role in 2018 because no one's really buying books. So for the people that do have the knowledge, they look at it and they go, do I want to invest a bunch of time and money into a media that isn't really being consumed anymore? And so books are almost looked like more of a novelty than anything else. I mean, great books are coming out, but people don't buy them. It's the problem. You know, we had Oliver Lucanus a couple years. Well, I say couple. It's probably been like 6 years now. Put out Amazon Below Water, the book. Amazing photography, amazing information, super cool. Ian Fuller's got really cool books on Cory and stuff like that. And you talk to these people and they're like, well, I mean, I made the book out of a labor of love. It's not making me any money. And when you find out that no one's making money off doing that, they're not exactly working on the next book because they're already going, well, you know, it cost me 2 years of my life and no one's really making money. And when I go to the publishers, they're going, well, I mean, we could make one, but it's not really profitable. So we're not trying that hard to take on fish books. And so there are books that are very niche that are very good. There's some like on Geophagus that are, the book is really good, really thorough. And then you find out on Amazon it's $400 because that is one of the few books. But the print run was so small on it because no one was buying it at the time. And so now they've almost become relics and collector's items more so than information. Like I've got a decent sized live bear library, and a lot of the books are very expensive. But at the same time, when you own a lot of those books, you're like the person that needs more of that type of book the least. So if I own 50 different books on live bears, I don't really need book number 51 because that knowledge exists in the other books. Now, someone else mentioned it's a great way to kick back and you know, kind of separate yourself from the internet and that type of thing. I do agree. It's the same reason I myself buy business books for that reason. It's actually to try and disconnect from my business and the online social media. Usually when I'm at a computer, there's 8 million different sources that currently want my attention, whether it's a fan that needs help, whether it's the group, the Facebook group we manage, whether it's comments on YouTube, whether it's emails, whether it's employees emailing me or trying to get a hold of me, or wholesalers, that type of thing. So there definitely is a place for like traditional media. And I think, you know, the better question might be in 2018, are things like TFH Magazine, Amazonas, and things like that going to be viable? I think they will remain viable because they're in a format that can be consumed. Our lives are changing in that we have less time blocks than we've ever had. So what that means is we still have 24 hours in a day, but the way we structure our lives, instead of it being like, okay, every night at 5 we sit down and eat dinner, and then we watch TV from 6 to 7, and then homework gets done, and then we go to bed at 9. Our days are much more like, okay, I'm going to grab dinner somewhere between 5:30 and 7. I'm going to fit 10 minutes of YouTube in here. I'm going to do this over here. Then I got 15 minutes there. And something like magazine articles and YouTube videos and that type of thing are more consumable in today's way that we're living life. So a book, while awesome, it's a great way to disconnect. I had a book that I read on the beach, and that was a great time. But when I'm sitting here in front of a computer, it's very hard for me to actually open up a book this day and age. So I fear that the days of profitable book publishing are coming to an end, at least when it comes to factual educational books outside of institutions, so outside of schools and that type of stuff.
Well, society itself wants that quick fix.
I mean, who doesn't want it better? Who doesn't want their food faster, tasting better? Who doesn't want the answer right now instead of an hour after researching? It's just we've been developing tools for the past 15 years that do that, and we're not really developing any tools to make that happen faster in books. I mean, you know, if you could read a book in half the time, that's kind of like just saying, well, why not just listen to it on tape? And then you could be like, well, why not just shorten that even more and make it a video? And so you kind of, that's what we've done over the years, is we just keep making things faster and faster and faster. And so we're on the move more. Like, oh, I learned how to fix my car this way. It took me 11 minutes. Now I'm out fixing my car. Instead of waiting for, oh, I need to all Saturday because I'm going to tear it apart, try to figure out what's wrong, go talk to my local mechanic, try to figure out what's wrong. And so we're just doing more things every single day that would have taken whole days to do even 20 years ago. So
I have a question here from Vi. He's a 15-year-old living in Virginia, and I'm really a big fan of yours, Cory, and he wants to know if you'll ever be in Virginia.
I do think I will. I think I am going to come to Virginia because I believe the 2018 CAT convention is in Virginia. And so I want to go there. It's next September, and I had a great time at CatCon. So there's CAT convention and there's CatCon, and they're two different conventions technically, but they were almost run the same way. It's basically like one person was running one person's running the other, and they're like, how about we just alternate? And so I had a great time, and Ian Fuller is going to be speaking at the CAT convention in 2018, and I've been fortunate enough to see him speak before, and he's super knowledgeable, gives a great presentation, and so I haven't decided in September if me and Jimmy are going to like cross-trek drive there again, or if we're going to fly, or what we're going to do, but my goal is to attend these conventions. This is going to come out more in like I think I've got a live stream that's like, what are my goals in 2018? But it's essentially adding more support to things that I can. So more support to creators, more support to clubs, more support to conventions, all these things that at the grass level really make the hobby, instead of, like if I make a goal just to further my YouTube channel, yes, I am helping it. But if I can help 10 clubs get 20 more members, that amplifies at the ground level, which ends up amplifying me like as a YouTuber anyway. So if I can, stoke the fire down low, it will change things down the road, and that helps me either way. So I'm better off to help everyone instead of just trying to help myself. And so that's my goal, is visit more conventions, more clubs, that type of thing.
That's awesome. Here he also, I forgot this feature was on your website about the information links. He just discovered using your website that there's a local fish club near him, or her, I'm sorry, Vi, and they plan on joining in the summer. And but there's a fee. Should I join or use that money on my tank because I'm really fun limited.
If you can't attend any of the meetings, the money might be better spent on your tank. But if you can attend any of the meetings at all, usually a local club pays itself back 1,000-fold. So it might be $15 to get in, but if you were to show up to a local club and they see a 15-year-old and you're, let's say, because most clubs have auctions, and let's say someone is watching you bid on stuff, and every time it gets to $4, you pull your hand down, they'll be smart enough to realize, like, oh, he's only got like $3 or $4 on him. And a guy like me sees that, and I just end up buying something and handing it off to you. And so that'll probably pay itself back, because I don't know, I guess me and I think a lot of others that have been around the hobby for a long time, we hate to see it when someone's their fun or their enjoyment's being limited by money or something like that. So we'll do things like that to try and help. And I think a lot of times you'll have people just hand you bags of plants. Like, free stuff shows up at clubs all the time. Like, oh, I had too many of this fish. I had too many of these plants. And so for a $15 or a $20, depends on what your club is. Usually it's somewhere between $10 and $20 for a year membership. I can't imagine you wouldn't get a few $100s worth of deals and savings and things like that. And the one thing I would warn you is, joining in the summer, don't be discouraged if you show up, in July and there's only 12 people there. You're going, what's going on? A lot of people are doing traveling, and summers in general are a lower attendance rate. But if you go in, let's say, January, and be like, whoa, there was 79 people here. And so just know that don't be discouraged. And usually most clubs are the best thing ever. I can't support them enough. And most people, I think, really enjoy their club. And it's, especially once you get to know people, the first time you go, you're kind of awkward because you're showing up to a place and you don't know anyone. But once you start making a friend or two, it's really fun. So I would tell you, get invested and get in there as early as you can, and show up early, talk a bunch, and you'll love it.
Thank you, Cory. I'm right behind on chat. The Dank Tank says, how would you quarantine a South American puffer? Any special instructions?
For me, I use erythromycin for usually when they're coming from wholesalers and stores. They've got quite a few bites on them, so their fins will be torn up, that type of thing. And erythromycin helps stop any fin rot that might have set in and keeps the wounds clean. If they're coming straight out of the wild, which I buy them basically from a wholesaler and they're getting them from there, and that they a lot of times will have ick, so I treat for ick right away. And then it's very, very common, since they're all wild caught, that they have internal tapeworms or parasites. And so I use General Cure. And so when they land at my store, I personally use erythromycin, ICX, and General Cure all at the same time, right at the beginning. And then I monitor them. And usually if I get all those in right from day one and let them kind of marinate in it, they don't require redosing, and I can get them eating fairly soon afterwards. And then I personally follow up about a month later or so, and I would worm them. So General Cure again, and really just make sure we've gotten all those worms out, because when you treat with General Cure, it can take care of active tapeworms, but all the eggs and stuff like that that might be in the feces or in the in the body can't be attacked. So they have to rehatch again, and then you can take them out typically. So it's a multi-process thing. And if you needed more information on like puffers and deworming and that kind of stuff, my presentation that I've given to clubs about it goes over that in a little bit more detail. And but yeah, it's kind of a chronic problem, is those internal tapeworms when it comes to pufferfish.
Joel asked me if I have any other pets besides fish. I don't anymore, Joel. I had a dog companion for over 11 years, and when I had to put him down, I chose not to get any more furry pets right now. And that's how my fish hobby grew from tank to tank to tank.
Yep, I've got, at the moment, just dogs and fish. I used to keep some crested geckos, and my wife had some hamsters that we loved to death. And that's pretty much all we've done in the last 15 years or so. I definitely get tempted by birds a lot. I think they're fascinating, especially the parrots and stuff. Let me take that. Any bird that likes to sit on my finger is my best friend. I don't know, something about it. I think 'cause I've never done it. I'm really attracted to birds. But I could see myself getting into some more pets, and that would be kind of fun. I'm scaling down the fish that I keep currently. There could be space for some other pets. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, I do like to stay focused on my topic, and that is fish. But I'm super intrigued by dart frogs, so much so that I'm afraid that if I started keeping them, I would just transfer all the way over to it, and then it would be like, oh, you only talk about dart frogs now. So I try to keep myself on point.
I'm trying to catch up with chat. Bare Necessities was concerned about the Patreon having a bad rap, but recently that's been cleared up, hadn't it, Cory?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything on the internet can get a bad rap, but basically what happened was Patreon's been going for years, and they said, hey, we're going to change something on December 18th, and they gave like a 2-week heads up, and then tons of people started screaming, you know, the sky is falling, all these problems, horrible, blah, 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 created a bunch of hubbub. Meanwhile, I'm like, well, let's see what they actually do. And then they reverted. They said, oh, we're not actually going to make that change. And so a bunch of hubbub, and a bunch of people lost a ton of patrons. And because people are like, oh, I'm not going to support this because they made it out to be a villain. And so a bunch of people lost a bunch of patrons, and then nothing ever happened. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things that we need to not be so reactionary. We actually need to see like, oh, is this going to go into effect? Are things going to change before we kind of make up our minds and that type of thing? And it's weird, like when, let's say you had 5,000 patrons and they were all giving you $1, and that $5,000 pays for your mortgage. And let's say you bought a new camera so that you could make better content for someone. And then patron does something like that, and you lose 2,000 patrons. And then all of a sudden you're not able to pay your mortgage next month. And then they didn't even change anything. So it's one of those weird things. They did get a bad rap, if you will, but you know, how many times has YouTube had a bad rap? YouTube gets a bad rap every month. You know, how bad do we talk about Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and cyberbullying? And really, we're a society now that looks for ways to badmouth things, and that drowns out the things, you know. So I would say every day you could probably get an article that shows up in the newspaper or your Facebook feed or something like that that says like, here's the latest on YouTube demonetization. But what we don't see is how, like, oh, because of YouTube, now the average American can fix their own window. They can fix a easy to fix part on a car, or they figured out the directions to how to put something together. There's all these other things that we gloss over because it's way better to go, there's drama on the table. People love to read about drama. And it's the same reason that the nightly news saves, you know, the Little League kids win the playoff series and stuff like that till the very, very, very end of the show, is because ratings matter and drama wins. And so that's the thing I would say. Don't worry about Patreon and stuff like that. The big hubbub was if you were going to donate $1, the creator used to get like 86 cents of that, right? Instead, what was going to happen if you donated $1, you were going to pay $1.30, and they were going to get like 92 cents. And that seemed like a huge thing. You're like, oh, my contribution just went up 30 cents. But if you were donating $10, you then had to pay $10.30. And so it was a pretty negligible thing, but in a vacuum, it sounded horrible. And my comparison I was making when people would ask me on other people's channels and stuff like that, I would say, it's kind of like your favorite thing in the world. Let's say it's Netflix, or let's say it's your favorite meal, or whatever it is, went up by 30 cents. You probably will be vocal and be like, well, that's dumb. I don't like that. But then you would just pay it. You know, that's kind of what would happen. And so your brain either decides whether whatever that content was is worth 30 cents more or not really. And so, but that hubbub didn't even come to fruition. And so it's a non-issue. But, you know, I think that we blew it up way more out of proportion than it was. And that's just my own personal opinion on that.
Thank you, Cory. Joel Glassboxes asked me, how do I find myself in the fish fam? What was your story ended up talking to all of us? First of all, I met Cory through video on a Facebook group and started watching his videos. And then he introduced this guy named Bob. And I'm like, who's Bob? So I started researching Bob Steamfot Aquatics. And then I saw that they got together every once in a while over at the Aquarium Co-op, et cetera, et cetera. And so I started watching those two guys. And so they're my heroes in the fish fam. And they're my greatest inspiration. So that's how I got in here, Joel. And Cory also, Flynn's Fish Forum, said to ask Cory his own question. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I haven't seen it yet, so we'll see what it is.
It's the one that you punned. Keep one, kill one, breed one. And he says I also have to answer.
All right. That probably just got a lot tougher considering I just tore down like 40 aquariums. So I have much less fish in my possession to like get rid of and breed. And if I was going to get rid of a fish that I currently have in my possession and never ever keep it again, what do I have that is already on the chopping block? I mean, there's a couple things like there's 3 baby convicts left, but I don't want to, that's kind of a cop out of like, oh yeah, I just hadn't taken them to the store yet anyway. But if I had to have like one of the species that I have dedicated to these tanks that I could never ever keep again, I think I would choose the tiger barbs in my 800-gallon behind me, and I still like them quite a bit. It's just I have a feeling like I've had my fill now. You know, it's like, let's say I ate cheesecake for a year straight. I could go a lot of years probably with never eating cheesecake again. So I feel like I could go, yeah, I could live without tiger barbs. If I was going to breed one, I would breed. I've got a lot of plecos over there, but what do I really want to breed? You know, a lot of people might think like the Mabu puffer, but I have a feeling all those little babies would terrorize each other, and that probably would stress me out. I would breed. I probably would just breed the Showa platies that I have. They're my latest. Like, ooh, I really want to make a lot of those. So I'd breed my Showa platies, which they look like Showa swordtails, but they're just Showa platies. Got them from Sergeant Tank, which is super cool. So I would breed those, and to save one, if I could save one species and kind of never get rid of it, never lose it, probably currently would be, or a fish. I could pick one individual fish. I'm really attached to. I'd probably pick my Variatus platies, my Sunset Variatus platies. I really like them. They couldn't leave the fish room. I have to have them, and I don't want to make the horrible decision of who lives and who dies between like Murphy and Ladybird. So it's easier to make the decision if I just go, well, I really don't want to see any of them leave me, but I won't pick a favorite there. That's like picking who's the best between children.
All right. Okay, Flynn. To keep one, I definitely have to keep a strain of guppies. So far, my favorite strain has been the blue-green Moscows that King Lee shipped to me. I haven't had too many drops. I have a drop behind me in the 10 gallons. So I would keep my blue-green Moscows because they have a beautiful sheen. They have that large delta caudal fin, and I would work on lengthening that dorsal fin and lengthening their body a little bit. Kill one. I think I've already done that, and that was my common pleco, rhino pleco. I didn't kill her. I had to rehome her because I only have a 55-gallon tank, and she was growing fast, and you know, plecos poop a lot, so I couldn't.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I couldn't keep that tank clean. Breed one. This is something I just found out today. I've acquired a yo-yo Loach from CJ Black. She's in the chat, one of my mods. She sent me Henry. And so today, studying on him and getting a video for a species feature going, I found out in captivity, no documented, there's not been any documented breeding in captivity. So that's going to be a challenge for me. And so that's what I would do, is breed the yo-yo loach.
Yeah, they're like, of loaches, I want to say I think there's like 1,100 described species of loaches, but like less than, I think it's like less than 400 have ever been bred. So it's like one of the biggest families that have not been thoroughly bred out. I think that's what Mark Duffel was saying when he was out here giving a talk at the local club. And if you're looking to breed loaches, it seems that most of them like to breed mid-water. So like his goal, basically, when he's trying to breed a lot of these that have never been done before, is you put a bunch of rocks down below and you get some power heads moving the water, and they breed, but they're very predatory on their own eggs. And so you need the eggs to fall down in the crevices, and you need a bunch of like fish poop and fish food and stuff like that to fall down there, because the fry have to raise themselves up down there, because if they come out too small, they just get eaten also. So it's kind of a cool thing to learn from a guy that's bred. I don't know if he's bred the absolute most, but he's definitely up there. He's bred something like, I want to say off the top of my head, and I could be completely wrong, was like 115 different types of loaches or something like that. And that's just crazy to me, considering I don't think I've ever bred one. I'm trying to think if I've ever bred a loach. I think I've had some like accidental, like, oh, made one type of deal, but never been like, oh, look at that, I made 70 of these things.
So. What was his name again that spoke on that?
Mark Duffel. He's from the UK.
Okay, thank you.
And he's actually got a couple little books. I have them, but they're a little spendy. I want to say they're like 20 or 30 bucks with shipping over from the UK. But there's some, if you're into loaches, they're really good books about loaches. They're almost like little manuals, and they're like 30 pages long or something like that, but really in-depth info. But you got to be a loach nerd to really want to buy that, I think.
Okay, thanks. We have about 4 minutes left of the hour, and I wanted to introduce the GoFundMe account that I set up just a few minutes ago. I want to do a special treat for Kayla C., the nano chick. She wants a python. So I'm going to share the link in the chat box for the GoFundMe account. I've set it up for $50, and she can't get it before Christmas, but hopefully she could get it before the first of the year if everyone just went to this GoFundMe link and just shared $1. Of course, now GoFundMe has changed its policy and asks for an extra $1 tip each time you make a donation. So that's up to you. And if we can, as a fish fam, help her get that python, it will be a happy new year for Kayla. So that's what Susan wants to do as a fish fam mom.
Yeah, so that's kind of a fun thing to do, is just, it's kind of like what I like to do. I enjoy crowdsourcing and getting stuff. And if you guys own a python, you know how game-changing that is. And I obviously own a python and stuff like that. And, it takes about $50 to get one of those. Not everyone's in a position to get one. And, that's the thing, is like, if everyone in the chat kicked in $1, we'd all buy someone a python. And that's kind of a cool thing. Not that I don't want to assume that everyone has an extra $1, but if you did have an extra $1, like I'm kicking in a few bucks right now. So we're that much closer.
Thank you so much. If I've missed anybody's questions, I see 54 Punchy said, me too, Cory. I've been researching how to set up a terrarium for dart frogs. Now I need to figure out where I can put another tank.
Yeah, that's.
We're talking about your gecko.
I love the vertical terrariums with like the 3 or 4 inch bottoms with hydroclayton balls, and I love you get to grow all the plants, and they're super duper cool. And you can turn a 20 long into this very tall terrarium. And part of the cool part about dart frogs and stuff like that is the actual setup of the tanks are kind of cheap, because when you take a 20 long and you put it on its end, it doesn't take up very much space like on a table or something like that. And when you buy a light, you only need like a 12-inch light. And so there's like a lot of perks. But then you got the dart frogs, which are like $1 billion each, because each one looks cooler than the last one, and they just get more and more and more expensive. So the actual setup of a tank can be ridiculously cheap. All from you could get a fish keeper's like cracked 20 long, and then buy a little bit of silicone and a glass cutter, and you could make a really cool setup. And then it comes down to, if you're just buying like normal frogs, it might be 20 or 30 bucks a piece, but there are frogs that are the coolest things I've ever seen, but then they're like, oh yeah, that one's $900. Like, oh geez, I don't know if it's $900 cool.
I have to share this because it's the end of the string. Fish Tropic Jason says, if Cory and Susan had a guppy together or made a guppy together, what would they call it?
What would I call it? I'm trying to think what a cool name is. Like, I guess we each have to pick a word, right? So maybe that's how it has to go. You pick a word, I'll pick a word, and then when you've got the word, I'll say my word. But I got to think of my word real quick here.
I've got my word.
All right, I've got my word. So mine should go second because I don't think it's a good first word.
Mine's a good first word. Majestic.
All right, my word was streamer. So we're going with majestic streamer.
All right, that sounds awesome. What color is it going to be? Green and orange?
I don't know. It's got to have a color splash from like head to tail, though. That's what I do know.
Yeah, kind of a rainbow, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, with a lot of metallic head on it and big delta tail, flowing fins.
The good thing about guppies is you can pretty much give any of them any name and people just go along with it.
That's it. Do you have anything else you want to bring to the stream tonight?
I don't think so, other than, thanks for having me. And, I look forward to being in more people's streams, that type of stuff. And, a lot of times you just have to invite me. And I know, like, for you invited me a few weeks ago, and it just, a lot of people are like, can you come on tomorrow? And it's like, well, I have to schedule things out quite a bit, but a lot of times I'll make time, 4 weeks in advance or something like that. It just, there's a lot of crazy scheduling I go through. And so if you guys have a channel and you're like, oh, I really want Cory to be on there, my thing I tell people is like, well, come up with what you want to talk about. I'll come onto your channel and we'll do it. And, but it's, I can't do it. Like, I can't be like on there once a week for you or anything like that. But I definitely do try to hop into some things and have some fun and just network with other people and, have a good time. So.
Well, Cory, thank you so much. I'm honored as the Fish Fam mom to even have you on here. I was debating to bring this up, but I'm saying I'm the Fish Fam mom. They've labeled that, that's not something I've picked myself. And they call you the dad of the Fish Fam. But, there's a little age difference there. But as far as the founder and the trendsetter that you are, I wanted to just thank you again for being my special guest tonight. So let everybody know what to look for on tomorrow, Friday. Yeah,
so tomorrow we actually got to film the video tonight still. It'll be I think we're going to do a special feeding on the 800-gallon tank, and we're going to try and use an underwater camera, another stationary camera in 4K, and a few other angles, and play with the lighting a little bit. So we're going to try and do a proper film on the 800-gallon, which we've never done yet. You guys you've seen videos about the 800-gallon, but usually that's just done with one camera and that type of stuff, whereas something like this might take us a few hours, set up angles, get cameras rolling in the right way, and then set lighting and do the production and see what we can come up with for tomorrow's video. And that's for the video out on the Aquarium Co-op at 10 a.m. We'll be on the Real Fish Talk channel talking about different fish and snails and that type of thing to kind of help clean your aquarium, if you will. That'll go on for 2 hours. Usually it's pretty goofy and fun. And and then on Saturday, I've got another live stream that's on the Aquarium Co-op channel, and we'll be talking about how to do plants on the cheap and stuff like that. And I have a special guest that not a lot of people no, because I haven't really told anyone, but Jeanne from Inglorious Bettas, she has family up here. She's flying into town, and she's going to stop by and be on the show. So that'll be a fun guest to have. So if you want to see Jeanne in the flesh, she's been busy, super busy lately. You can talk at both of us on Saturday.
Awesome. And before I sign off, I wanted to tell everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I wanted to thank my new subscribers, my new Patreons, and those that have donated to the GoFundMe account for Kayla. Let's get Kayla a python.
Python for Christmas.
Yes. We thank you and we love you. God bless you. Thank you, Cory.
Thanks for having me, and have a good night, guys. And we'll see you around the fish fam. We're growing bigger by the day.
Okay, bye-bye.